Welcome back on the AM show. Call this a novelty. This morning I'm going to be sharing with you my blunt thoughts, my take, if you like, on the problem of leadership in Ghana, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now you see what I do have behind me. I'll get to that shortly. But the problem of leadership in Ghana, while it did not start today, is indeed so big, fellow Ghanaians, that I do not even know where to start. From religion to politics, traditional leadership, our system is a big mess. For today, however, as I reflect on two topical matters arising from discussions this week, I shall focus on our botched asset declaration regime, together with the unpopular construction of a national cathedral. But I ask, what do you have to hide? Yes, you. What do you have to hide? Maybe not much, but some of our leaders apparently may have a whole lot to hide. But as God's word tells us in Luke 8:17, all that is secret will eventually be brought into the open, and everything that is concealed will be brought to light and made known to all. Let's start with the declaration of assets by public office holders. In Ghana, two main laws regulate asset declaration: Article 2861 of the 1992 Constitution and Public Office Holders Declaration of Assets and Disqualification Act 1998, that is Act 550. Article 2861 states that public office holders, including the President, Vice President, the Speaker, Deputy Speaker of Parliament, as well as ministers and deputy ministers of state, ambassadors, the Chief Justice, it goes on and on, shall submit to the Auditor General written declarations of all property or assets owned or liabilities owed by them, whether directly or indirectly. The Constitution, however, forbids public disclosure of the assets declared by the public officers concerned unless demanded as evidence by a court of competent jurisdiction, a commission of inquiry or more, under Article 287, that is 278, or before an investigator appointed by the Commissioner for Human Rights and Administrative Justice. Act 550, on the other hand, provides the framework and guidelines for assets declaration in Ghana as a tool to combat corruption among public office holders. Pretty clear, right? But obviously not clear enough for most of our leaders. From the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, to Majority Leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu, to Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, and many more. Our leaders appear to be flouting these rules with impunity. While some of those mentioned, like the Vice President, declared their assets the first time in 2017, there remain problems with declarations post the first term and at the start of the second term. The question is, why? What may they have to hide? And why are those meant to be at the forefront of upholding our laws rather abusing them, subverting them? Why are those who purport to solidly represent democracy now those violating everything we actually stand for as a people? Is it because they mean to reap where they have not sown, taking from the very mouths of the hungry and stuffing their own pockets instead? Who knows? But Ghana, it simply beats my imagination just how sloppy we have been in holding the feet of our leaders to the fire of accountability. And yes, I admit that even the media in some way has failed too. We've done something, no doubt, but not enough to change the script of the constant creating, looting, and sharing, the rot that has characterized our Fourth Republican democratic experiment. We live in a democratic dispensation, yes, but we all know that in this country some are primus inter pares, first among equals, more human than others. If not, why would some rot in jail for petty offenses, while those who walk the corridors of power get away with blatant corruption? If you're in power, you're a sacred cow, you're a demigod, an untouchable breed. You're basically faultless. It is that same gall that gave chairman of the MPP, Freddie Blay, to tell us recently, Okafuo Didi, in respect of a national cathedral project, with let's cut all the sugarcoating here. The vast majority of Ghanaians, especially Christians, consider an unnecessary project, at least at this time and in our economic circumstances. You raise down judges' bungalows and other state buildings at huge cost. You tell us we are just providing paltry seed money, and now we have to cough up $25 million. If our president made a promise to God, why force this down the throat of the ordinary Ghanaian suffering excruciating hardship, who couldn't give a toss whether or not we have a cathedral? Our elders did say, I've heard some people in defense of the National Cathedral Project quote Jesus and the Bible and say, the poor you always have with you. They forget the same Jesus went about doing good to everyone, that he said, Whatsoever you do to the least of these, my brethren, you do unto me. I'm actually imagining Jesus living in Ghana in 2022 and wondering, as a Catholic Christian, whether he would say, let's blow some $25 million on a cathedral for my Father in heaven. Or rather say, let's work at alleviating the lot of our people, the sick, the destitute, the needy, the suffering, the very people Jesus lived and died for. One of the biggest malaises we suffer in this country, Ghana, for, is irresponsible leadership. Leadership not by example, but by right. The law says declare your assets. What do our leaders say? We'll do so, if and when we feel like it. The people by and large say, we need cheaper fuel, cheaper fertilizers for farming, better roads, protection from flooding. The leaders say, let's build a national cathedral. Then you can go there and pray so that God will grant you all these things you yearn for. In other jurisdictions, the national kitty is for all. Here, that poor kitty is ravaged by those in power who brazenly siphon state resources with both hands and feet. In other prosperous nations, the state works for the people so they can be even better. Here, the reverse is true. Citizens work so leaders can live large, grow fat on the very goodies they ought to be spreading round, for the benefit of all. Some say we are cursed. I disagree. We are rather lacking in wisdom. That's what we are. A nation that has the gold, the diamonds, the oil that we have has no business being this broken. Our gold and other precious metals, the diamonds, the oil, and all the other natural resources we have are finite. They will, unfortunately, not last forever, like everything in Sir John's will. This is why we must protect what they rake in for us, for the benefit of future generations as well. We're expending $350 million, the equivalent of 2.5 billion Ghana cedis on a project, which some claim, that is the National Cathedral, will gain for us $95.5 million over a period of 5 years after it's done. There are absolutely no guarantees this will happen. In the meantime, only God knows when we'd have to cough up some more seed money for this monstrosity of a cathedral. While many of our people still languish in poverty and lack, how can we be this wicked to our own selves? Just last night, a colleague of mine right here at work, whose mother was sick, went to a hospital facility and couldn't even get a bed initially, until some strings were pulled. Yet we feel we can afford to expend $25 million on a cathedral in a country where people give birth on the bare floor, where children study on the bare floor, where children have no textbooks, in a country where we cannot provide 45 million Ghana cedis for Shraj to fight corruption, but we can provide 4 times of that for a national cathedral in our economic state. Let's say our prayers, shall we? In a country in which some 3,000 nurses have fled in 2022 alone, surely you could find better avenues in which you could pump $25 million, especially when those nurses left because of poor working conditions. That sum could have saved us many of our nurses. In a country where some children in some parts of the country do not even know what a computer looks like. A country where some parts still aren't connected to the electricity grid. Some parts still are not connected to the national water supply in the 21st century. Leadership, true leadership, is not rocket science. As I end, let me just pause here. I want to walk you through this so that you realize I'm not just running my mouth. There's a lot of fact behind what I'm telling you. Let's pay attention to this. I'm talking about assets declaration, and I'm also talking about the National Cathedral. After this breakdown, it will give you a lot of food for thought. Now, President Akufo-Addo said in 2017, I declared my assets within 2 weeks of my inauguration, and so has the Vice President. The ministers have declared their assets, and I am insisting that all those required to do so under the law should comply. But did that happen? At least 93 government officials did not declare their assets, and this we know for a fact. In terms of the National Cathedral, the promise was that the National Cathedral project was proposed by government in March 2017 as a physical embodiment of national unity, harmony, and spirituality. The target, it would cost us $350 million, the equivalent of 2.5 or 2.3 billion Ghana cedis. Let's go back to what Pius Hajide, then Deputy Minister of Information, said to us in November 2018. He said, quote, It is not correct that the state was going to be wasting public resources on building that cathedral. Building of that cathedral will primarily be funded by voluntary contributions from the Christian community, philanthropists, and with grants from development partners. We didn't know at the time just how much would be involved. But in 2019, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta said, "Mr. Speaker, the state is facilitating this process by providing the land, the secretariat, and seed money for the preparatory phase." Now let's do the breakdown so you really understand what is happening. What problems can $25 million solve? How many nurses, for example, can it pay? The average salary of a nurse per month is what you're saying, $400, the equivalent of 3,200 cedis. The number of nurses this could have paid in a month is 62,500. The number of nurses in a year, 5,208. And the number of nurses in 2 years, 2,604. If you consider that 3,000 nurses have left on the back of feeling that we are not paying them well, we could have done twice of their number, almost. How about what problems it can solve for NABCO trainees? They've been complaining too. The total number of trainees is 100,000. The average salary per month is $88.60 or 700 cedis, equivalent. The number of trainees they could have paid in a month is about 3 times the number, 282,167. Number of trainees in a year, 23,518. And in 2 years, 11,759. But let's consider, same amount of money, nothing has changed. If we wanted to construct roads with it, we know that the cost per kilometer of road, according to the roads minister himself, is that amount, $189,274 or 1.5 million Ghana cedis. The number of kilometers this could have constructed is 132. And if you look at the number of 10-kilometer roads it could have constructed with a surplus, that would have been 13. Think of it this way. The stretch from Accra to Cape Coast is 147 kilometers. This is 132 kilometers. It means that this sum of money could have almost provided, in fact, it would provide 89.7% or 90% of the Accra to Cape Coast stretch, a good quality road from Accra to Cape Coast. What problems could it have solved in terms of our school feeding? And I'll wrap here. We know we pay, 97 pesos per student. The number of students benefiting are 1,693,698. Stay with me. The amount per student is 97 pesos. The amount per student per year is 354 cedis, or the equivalent, $44.67. The number of students this could have catered for in a year is that 5,596,597. And in a period of 2 years, you would halve that, 2,798,298. So Ghana 4. Our leaders failing to declare their assets. A national cathedral at 25 million. Worth it? My name is Benjamin Akapo. These are my blunt thoughts for you, raw and unedited, on a Friday morning. Do stay with us. Up next, we are talking about greening Ghana.